So hello everyone, and thank you so much for being here today. Welcome to our presentation on nutrition myth busting and how to spot a fad diet. Today we are discussing why fad diets aren't conducive to long-term weight loss or positive health outcomes, with many even having negative health consequences in the future. We will also be offering ways to identify a fad diet and suggestions we have as nutrition professionals for ways to support your health goals without using traditional fad dieting. I also want to provide just a quick disclaimer at the top of this. This presentation is not meant to pass judgment on any individual's diet or lifestyle choices. It is simply meant to discuss the current evidence on fad diets and what we as nutrition professionals recommend for healthy weight loss or healthy weight maintenance.
Great. Hi, everyone. My name is Lily, and Brittany and I are both nutrition interns, and we're on our way to becoming registered dietitians. Just a little bit about me. I live in Easton, Massachusetts, and I went to the University of New Hampshire, where I got my bachelor's in nutrition and dietetics, and I also received my master's degree in nutritional sciences there as well.
And so hello everyone, my name is Brittany. Similar to Lily, I received my bachelor's degree in nutrition and dietetics from the University of New Hampshire, and I currently live in Manchester, New Hampshire.
And we hope you enjoy our presentation we've put together for you today on learning about fad diets and how we can spot them. And before we begin, we do want to play a quick true or false trivia game we put together for you guys to test your knowledge and see what you kind of already know about nutrition. If you would like to participate, please feel free to write your answer in the chat box. So let's begin.
Perfect. So the first question, true or false, all fad diets help with long-term weight loss? And again, if you feel like participating, type your answer into the chat box. Oh, perfect. I'm seeing a bunch come in now. So all false, perfect. False, false, false. Great. A bunch of those. Awesome. So the answer is false. If a fad diet works, it generally only works for a short period of time. And most weight is gained back once the diet has ended and your normal diet is resumed. We will discuss this more in detail later on in the presentation though. Great job, everyone. Thank you.
All right. Next question is true or false, healthy diets include all food groups?
Perfect. I'm seeing a couple trues come in, a bunch of trues, and all caps true. I like that one.
Good. Yes, so this is true. Healthy diets include all food groups. Most fad diets, specifically some of the ones that we're going to talk about today in this presentation, tend to take out or decrease food groups like carbohydrates, fat, or protein. And these aren't really sustainable and are not healthy because our body needs these nutrients to survive. So that was true. Right.
Okay, so true or false, exercise is not necessary if following a healthy diet. Perfect, so I'm seeing a couple of falses, a bunch of false. Awesome. False, very good. Okay, awesome. So this one is false. Exercise is important regardless of good nutrition. For those wanting to lose weight or maintain personal well-being, it is not possible to exclusively eat healthy. Physical activity is just as important as good nutrition.
All right, last question is true or false. Weight loss is achievable by allowing your favorite foods in moderation.
Perfect, I'm seeing some true. Oh, a bunch of true. Okay. Oh, that's great.
Good, yes, this is true. No foods are good or bad, and there are no foods that should be off limits because that leads to restrictive eating habits. And we should also enjoy the foods we want to eat every once in a while to increase our quality of life. All right.
Absolutely. Perfect. So that concluded the question or the brief trivia. Thank you everyone for participating. That was awesome. So we're going to jump right into it. So what is a fad diet? So for those of you who might not be familiar with the term fad diet or even what it is, a fad diet is a weight loss program or aid that promises fast and dramatic results in a relatively short period of time. These diets don't focus on long-term weight loss or sustaining that weight loss, and they aren't typically focused on overall health promotion, mainly just quick weight loss, which isn't inherently healthy and frankly can be quite dangerous. Many of these diets make our bodies miss out on important food groups and nutrients, many of which are necessary for maintaining health. And often these restrictions manifest into vitamin and mineral deficiencies, which can turn into avoidable diseases and illnesses. Another unfortunate side effect of fad dieting, restricting, and really all of diet culture is the promotion of eating disorders. By not listening to hunger cues, feeling guilty for eating something that's not allowed on the diet, and limiting calories to a level where your body truly thinks it's starving, amongst many others, this can quickly turn into a deadly relationship with self-image and food.
All right, and fad diets are a marketing scheme. So the marketing of fad diets, we see it everywhere. We see it on billboards, radios, televisions, magazines. And the media's pressures to diet culture has significantly increased over the past 30 years, and it's really bombarding us like never before. And the diet and weight loss companies have grown to be a $71 billion industry. And Americans spent $71 billion on dieting and dieting products in 2020. Yet, according to studies, 95% of these diets fail. It's important to keep in mind that the individuals who are promoting these diets are marketing professionals. They're not healthcare professionals. They know how to target your weaknesses and play on your desires to get you to buy their product. Unfortunately, there really is no magic weight loss product or pill out there, and if there were, obesity would no longer be a problem in the world today.
Okay, so fad diets have been around forever, and new ones pop up every year. And like Lily was saying, with a $71 billion incentive, companies and marketers can win big by swaying the public to buy their products, their diet products and programs. And just to note too, that $71 billion was in 2020, which was down from previous years too. So that says something. In this presentation, we're going to talk about the hot diets right now that you or a friend or a family member may have tried or maybe thinking of trying because you've heard people have had great success with it. But hopefully by providing evidence and review of the current data, Lily and I are going to make you think twice before trying these diets. So the ones we're going to review today include the keto, paleo, intermittent fasting, cleanses, and detoxes. And so Lily's actually going to take it away with the first diet.
All right. So let's start off with one of the most popular fad diets that everyone seems to hear about nowadays, the keto diet. So the keto diet is done by drastically reducing the amount of carbohydrates you can have in a day, and it instead increases the amount of fat you can have. So carbohydrate sources are things like vegetables, fruits, and grains like breads and pastas. And carbohydrates are our body's main fuel source, and our brain prefers to use these carbohydrates for energy. But by following the keto diet and eating more fat, fat becomes that primary source for fuel instead. And this type of energy is called ketones. The brain does not prefer to use ketones for energy. It runs better with the glucose that comes from carbohydrates. And originally, this diet was designed and prescribed for children with severe epilepsy, and it's meant to be done under the supervision of a medical team. But now people are marketing it as a healthy solution to weight loss, which is just not what it's meant for. So by cutting back significantly on carbohydrates, an individual might see dramatic weight loss at first. But this weight loss will not be long-lasting once the diet returns to normal. Our bodies need glucose from carbohydrates, not ketones, to live and give us the proper energy. And staying in ketosis is unrealistic, and evidence from studies have shown that it's not safe to stay on the keto diet any more than 6 months. And being in ketosis and eating a diet lower in carbohydrates can cause confusion and irritability. And this is because the brain needs that sugar from those healthy carbohydrates like fruits and vegetables in order to function. And often in the beginning days of the keto diet, and when you start limiting your carbohydrate intake, dieters might experience something called the keto flu, which might include symptoms like nausea, vomiting, poor concentration, headaches. And also, because ketones are very acidic, it can also cause bad breath. Some people say it has like a metallic-y taste, but this is the body's response to adapting to those ketones as the body's new energy source. And by restricting the amount of carbohydrates you can have in a day, you're restricting the amount of fruits and vegetables and whole grain sources you can have in a day, which could lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies. And also, because you're limiting carbohydrates like fruits, vegetables, and grains, that's where we get most of our fiber from. So by following the keto diet, this could lead to constipation because that fiber helps regulate our bowel movements. And also ketones can cause more frequent urination. And with following a diet so high in fat, liver and kidney disease are at a higher risk to occur because the high amounts of fat are overloading and putting way too much stress on the liver and kidneys to do their work. And by restricting carbohydrates and choosing those higher fatty foods like saturated fats and cholesterol, you increase your total cholesterol and your triglycerides in your blood, which has been linked to increased risk of cardiovascular disease, including strokes and heart attacks.
A lot of problems with the keto diet. So now I'm going to discuss the paleo diet. So similar to the restrictive nature of the keto diet, the paleo diet has its users limit consumption of carbohydrates while increasing both fat and protein. The creators of this diet say it, quote unquote, works to achieve good health as it reflects what our hunter-gatherer ancestors did and what we're meant to do. On the surface, this diet seems positive and promotes eating whole, unprocessed foods, including grass-fed meat, vegetables, certain nuts, and healthy fats, including olive oil and avocado oil. However, the restrictive nature of this diet is where the problems lie. In order to follow the paleo diet, you have to eliminate several items. Some of these items include dairy, grains like cereals, rice, bread, pasta, and whole grains, legumes like beans, peanuts, lentils, and soy, as well as any processed food or food containing vegetable oil or refined sugar, and even certain vegetables like white potatoes. And you may be asking, well, why are these seemingly random items off limits? Well, these items are off limits because the creator of the diet program deemed them to be inflammatory, or our ancestors didn't use them, therefore we shouldn't either. However, I do want to note, in opposition to this, dietitians and nutrition professionals acknowledge many of these items do make up a healthy, well-balanced diet, even refined sugar and processed foods in moderation. Okay, and so we're going to get into some of the problems with the paleo diet. So starting off, this diet is expensive and includes a constant supply of fresh fruits and vegetables, grass-fed meats, nuts and seeds, which isn't totally realistic for those on a budget. This diet pushes the idea that wellness and health is only achievable to those who can afford it. And as a nutrition professional, I really don't like that sentiment. I think that health and wellness can be achieved regardless of budget. There are also several questions about its safety. By eliminating entire food groups, a person may be at a higher risk of developing certain nutrient deficiencies. For instance, dairy is a great source of calcium and vitamin D and is how most of us in the Western world get these nutrients. When you eliminate dairy, you need to be mindful of other sources of calcium and vitamin D and making sure you're seeking out those other options. Deficiencies in vitamin D and calcium often lead to osteoporosis, which is a disease that weakens bone integrity, causing bone fractures and breaks. This is often associated with an older population. Another question about the safety of this diet is its reliance on animal protein, and often recommending red meats like beef. Beef is a great source of protein, however, it is also rich in saturated fat and cholesterol. Substantial amounts of evidence shows that diets rich in both cholesterol and saturated fats are linked to increased instances of heart disease and other cardiovascular related chronic illnesses.
All right, now we're going to move on to intermittent fasting. So with intermittent fasting, it reduces the total number of calories you can eat in a specific period of time. There are many different versions of this diet. Some people will follow 16 hours of fasting with 8 hours of eating, or fasting for 20 hours and only eating for 4 hours. And there's also one type where you can have 5 days of normal eating, and then for 2 days of the week, you consume less than 500 calories. And because so many people follow so many different timings of when to eat, studies haven't been consistent in testing this diet's effectiveness, so we don't truly understand how it works yet. And also, there haven't been many participants in these studies, which is necessary when looking to see if a diet can work and apply to a majority of people. So let's get into the problems of intermittent fasting. First off, it challenges our biological need to eat. So our bodies make hormones that signal the brain that it needs fuel. So by ignoring the signaling system and restricting your eating schedule, several things can happen, such as fatigue, irritability, and headaches, and also a slowed metabolism. Studies have shown that those who practice intermittent fasting have a higher production of dopamine, and dopamine is our happy hormone. So they have a higher production of dopamine when they're eating and decreased dopamine during the times that they're fasting. So for individuals following intermittent fasting, it might lead to overeating or overindulging on the times that they are allowing themselves to eat, which might lead to binge eating disorder because you're getting so many of those happy hormones when they finally allow themselves to eat.
Okay, so now we're going to jump right into detoxes and cleanses. So detoxes and cleanses are sold in a variety of forms, including diet pills, juices, apple cider vinegar, detox teas, fat-burning supplements, topical rubs, and so many others. All of these products promise weight loss by different and most of the time unsubstantiated means. On the next slide, we're going to talk about the problems with the detoxes and cleanses. Okay, so why are they just another fad diet? So many of these products and programs include the use of diuretics and laxatives, which cause you to expel more water, thereby leading to perceived fat loss. Some detoxes, like juicing, will put you in a calorie deficit for a short time, which will lead to short-term weight loss. However, similar to how some of the other diets work, once you return to your normal diet, the weight will just return. Some of these supplements have no actual substantiated science backing them up. In some of these include celery juice, and apple cider vinegar is a popular one. I like to just call these modern day snake oils because there's no evidence that we can even look at to see if they are fulfilling the promise of the weight loss. Often marketers are allowed to get away with selling these products because they are not regulated by the FDA. This lack of oversight can be problematic in that their products contain illegal or dangerous ingredients and advertise just lies about the products. Weight loss supplements also often contain stimulants, appetite suppressants, and fat blockers, all of which have potentially dangerous side effects, including more mild to moderate symptoms like diarrhea, constipation, headaches, and more severe ones like high blood pressure, dehydration, addiction to the supplement, and even death. Detoxes and cleanses are really appealing because they are that magic pill or that expensive drink elixir that someone is telling you if you drink or take this pill, you will lose weight and you will increase your energy and be a totally new person. But I do want to emphasize that these claims are almost about 99% of the time unsubstantiated and not backed by science. And these companies have a massive financial incentive to take advantage of you.
All right, so hopefully now you have a better grasp as to what a fad diet is, and you can see why some of the fad diets we just reviewed are not healthy and don't work long term. These diets lack adequate nutrition, and strict food restrictions won't provide you with long-term health benefits. It will only starve your body of the balanced amount of nutrients it needs, creating long-term health problems like heart disease or liver or kidney disease. Restricting foods for periods of time or also restricting a certain food group will also increase the risk of eating disorders, such as binge eating, when you do go back to eating those foods because your body is craving them because it needs them to survive. Fad diets also lead to what is known as yo-yo dieting. It's also known as weight cycling. It's a pattern of losing weight and then regaining it back, causing increased risk for obesity. The picture to the left describes yo-yo dieting and the diet cycle. So basically, to walk you through it, you start a diet, you restrict the foods, you deprive yourself of those foods, and then you crave them. And then you give in to eating those foods and you feel really guilty about it. And then you most likely regain the weight back, and then you're back to again to the start of the diet.
It's all very cyclical. It seems dangerous. Okay, so we're going to jump into the 10 steps to spot a fad diet. Okay, so number one, if you notice the diet promotes quick weight loss, we often see these on magazine covers or on those weight loss supplements we talked about. We also see this on social media a lot, at least I know I do, with influencers or brands showing before and after pictures with captions like, "This diet helped me lose 5 pounds in the first week." And we have to be critical about this information. And maybe that person did lose 5 pounds in the first week, but ask yourself, is that weight loss sustainable? The answer is most likely no, it's not. So number two, if the diet insanely reduces the number of calories, being in a calorie deficit will help you lose weight innately, but significantly reducing calories can be dangerous to your health. Not only this, but drastically reducing calories can even halt weight loss, because your metabolism thinks it's starving, so it begins to slow down and begins to hold on to the energy you're giving it. And this process is called metabolic adaptation, and is often associated with those weight loss plateaus people experience. Number three, testimonials from celebrities. You may see a product hucked by the Kardashians or other influencers, but just remember they're being paid to sell you that product and didn't use it to get the physique they have. To go along with this, you may notice people who have impressive credentials or who are maybe doctors promoting these diets. The first one for me that always comes to mind is Dr. Oz. He has an impressive resume, being a surgeon and a seemingly reliable talk show host. He's likable. He seems like a legitimate source to get information from, but he does not have a nutrition background or extensive nutrition education like dietitians and food scientists do. So he isn't a totally reliable source to get nutrition advice from. One fun story, I remember he came out a couple of years ago and told people to not eat breakfast because it was the healthy thing to do for your body. And I remembered all the dietitian pages that I was on, and some of my professors in my undergrad, everyone was like, how could he say that? And everyone's freaking out because there was no evidence. And I remember even researching where he was getting his evidence from. And it was scarce, to say the least. So it's important when you're seeking out nutrition advice, you're looking at reliable sources like registered dietitians because of how extensive our nutrition education and background is. So number four, if a diet makes you skip meals or replace meals with special drinks or supplements, remember your diet shouldn't taste bad, and you shouldn't feel bad for eating and skipping meals or supplements, or even using those nasty meal replacements. Often don't make for the most desirable diet. So just remember, you should be enjoying the food that you're eating. Number five, if it claims you don't need to exercise, a large amount of evidence does show exercise is as important as good nutrition is, so never count that one out. So number six, if a product describes itself as instant, miraculous, or a cure-all, achieving a wellness and sustainable weight loss will not happen overnight. It requires you to work at it and learn about what foods and exercise are necessary for you as an individual to achieve your health goals. Number seven, if it makes you completely cut out food groups or nutrients. So nutrients like carbohydrates are essential for our body, and no one food group is solely responsible for weight gain or bad health. Number eight, if it claims to be a lifestyle change program. These ones can be tricky. It is important to dig deeper into the site and see if you can spot any of the aforementioned fad diet identifiers, like significantly cutting calories, cutting out any food groups or nutrients, or are they trying to sell you a product? So number nine, if they have rigid rules. Rules or breaking rules often lead to guilt, and you should never feel guilty for eating food. We're meant to eat food. Number 10, the last one. If it sounds too good to be true, it's probably because it is. This one kind of goes back to the instantaneous weight loss and having to put in minimal effort to achieve your health goals or lose weight. Again, achieving wellness and sustainable weight loss requires work, and no one pill, drink, or money-making diet program will do this. However, on the next slide, Lily is going to discuss what does work and what we as nutrition professionals and soon to be registered dietitians recommend.
All right, so evidence-based nutrition is what works best. This means a diet is backed up by good scientific studies and backed up by dietitians and scientists. They're not backed up by celebrities or advertisements on TV or lifestyle magazines. A healthy diet starts with making positive lifestyle changes. Healthy diets include a balance of all 5 food groups. This plate model on the left shows what you should be having at every single meal. Half of every plate should be fruits and vegetables, and 1/4 of your plate should contain lean protein sources, which just means it's lower in fat, such as fish, nuts, eggs, chicken, turkey. And half of your plate should contain grains, focusing on whole grains like whole wheat bread, brown rice, whole grain pasta, and 2 to 3 servings of dairy we want to aim for per day, and also making sure to choose water most often as well. You should also be getting regular meals and snacks throughout the day. Our bodies, we're like an engine. So if we go long periods of times without eating, similar to a car not stopping for gas, this can have negative side effects and our bodies won't run as efficiently, and not eating enough won't get us the right amount of vitamins and minerals we need for a day. Weight loss in a healthy diet should not totally restrict all foods, and all foods are allowed in moderation. It's also important to eat mindfully. This means listening to your body's hunger cues. Most of us might find ourselves mindlessly eating, and it's important to sit back and ask yourself, are you actually hungry or are you content? It can be really helpful to go on a walk before you start snacking or going back for seconds to try to distract yourself from the food. Remember that along with following a healthy diet, physical activity is necessary and goes hand in hand with good nutrition. 150 minutes of exercise is recommended per week for adults. That equates to about 20 to 30 minutes per day, and it includes anything that gets your heart beating. A healthy weight loss is gradual, and it's done healthfully by losing 1 to 2 pounds per week. This might not seem like a lot, but there really is no easy way around it, and it takes a lot of work. And a gradual weight loss is the only way to ensure that the weight loss will be sustainable long term. Also, weight loss is very individualized. So what works for some may not work for others. And if you want to know more, you can speak with a dietitian to form a weight loss plan that is fit just for you.
Okay, so we want to remind everyone that all foods fit in moderation when following a healthy diet. So not one I don't like to use the word cheat meal, but one meal that includes just your pleasure foods or a day that you don't eat vegetables is okay. Consistency is what matters. So if you have a great diet overall and you want to go out and have mac and cheese or do some fried foods, that's not going to ruin your entire diet. So it's what you do consistently that matters. So an overall healthy diet is important. It's your right to feel comfortable around all foods, knowing there are no good or bad foods. They all have a time and place. Restricting foods on a fad diet will only lead to overeating them later. Not only good nutrition, but really developing a positive relationship with eating and food is essential for good health. And by implementing a healthy diet instead of those fad diets, you'll likely achieve your health goals and feel better doing it, which will last longer than anything these fad diets can promise.
All right, and that concludes our presentation. We're going to stick around for any questions. Please feel free to type your questions in the chat box. And if you would like to leave, you're welcome to. We just want to thank everyone again for coming today. If you do have any more questions that maybe you think of later on, feel free to email us, and our emails are right there on the slide. But yeah, we'll stick around for a couple minutes to answer any questions.
Oh, perfect. It looks like we have one. So it says, thanks for doing this. You're welcome. Is it okay to constantly use water flavor enhancers like Mio? Yeah, so that's a great question. I think it's great. So especially if you're a person, I know for me, for instance, I struggle to remember to drink enough water during the day, and to make it a little bit more desirable, those flavor enhancers are totally fine. And if you like them and if they don't upset your stomach, I know some people might have problems with some of them, but if they're good for you, if you find that you're drinking more water by using them, absolutely continue using them. Oh, perfect. So I have another one. Do you recommend not eating after 7 p.m. or is that a fad as well?
That kind of goes back to the intermittent fasting a little bit. It does not matter what time you stop eating at, or if you have like a late night snack at like 10 p.m., not going to do anything wrong to you. So
Absolutely.
no worries about that at all.
Yeah, that again goes with the like it's what you do consistently that matters. So if you find that you want ice cream or even the whole pint of ice cream, and you're not eating a whole pint of ice cream every single night, but if it's satisfying that urge, then it's not going to ruin your entire healthy eating plan. So great question. Okay. So another question, is edamame or chickpea pasta better for you than regular pasta?
So that is so chickpea pasta, like they're just more vegetables. So if maybe you're not having many vegetables in a day, maybe having chickpea pasta might be better for you to get those vegetables in. But they're not particularly more healthy than
Right.
regular pasta. And you can always have regular pasta whenever you want it. So don't feel like you need to always have chickpea pasta.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really great. If you like it, for instance, chickpea pasta, I know I've tried like those zoodles in the past. I'm not a big fan of them, and I'm certainly not going to give up pasta for zoodles. But definitely, if you like them as much as you like regular pasta, that's great. You can continue doing that. But if your diet is full of just fruits and vegetables as it is, there's no need replacing, one of those pleasure items with a healthier alternative.
I would say just the whole grain pasta would probably be better than regular pasta.
Yes.
If you're going to do that.
If you like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect. Great question. Okay. Oh, great. So I recently joined Weight Watchers with goals of gradual weight loss, increased energy. Is Weight Watchers considered a lifestyle or a fad? Also, is Noom a fad? Okay. So both great questions. So the concerns with Weight Watchers is that some people have had really good luck with it. I noticed that those people are on it longer term. I don't know how sustainable just doing Weight Watchers products are necessarily, but looking at the products they try to sell, it does kind of seem more like a fad diet. So I think definitely following the My Plate is going to be the most beneficial. And if you can do that with the Weight Watchers food, or like kind of filling in those gaps on the My Plate with the Weight Watchers products, that's great. But I would say that it kind of more aligns with a fad diet than a lifestyle change. I know there's been a lot of research on Weight Watchers, and it seems that when you're not doing Weight Watchers, you will gain weight back. Mm-hmm. So, and which makes me think that it's more of a fad diet, because you have to be on the product to experience all of these benefits. Mm-hmm. And Noom is also, I know that's a newer one. Noom is sold as a lifestyle change program. It has a lot of things that make me think that it's a fad diet, just with restricting certain things. I don't know, it's sort of making it seem like you can't have those pleasure foods, or being like you have to do this in a certain way for it to be right. And again, I think once you go off of Noom, you might experience that same thing. So you shouldn't have to rely on like a program to achieve your health goals. So it's about teaching you the things that you can do on your own to achieve, your desired outcome.
Yeah, that's a great answer, Brittany. I like that. There is one thing I do like about Weight Watchers is that it gives you unlimited fruits and vegetables. That's the only thing I kind of really like about it. It gives you no points for those at all. So you
Okay.
can eat as many of those as you like. But I think the point system is very confusing, and it also puts emphasis on foods being good or bad. Which, like Brittany said, everything in moderation. So, and once you
Absolutely.
get off that diet and you go back to your normal diet, I don't think it really will work.
Absolutely. Yeah. You should never, like, I always like the sentiment that you should never feel bad for eating. Your body, if your body wants those comfort foods, you should allow yourself to have them. And a lot of these diet programs don't necessarily let you do that without, feeling some sort of guilt. Perfect. Great question. Awesome. Made us think a lot. So I have recently been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. I'm also a vegetarian. I struggle with meal ideas. Any meal or snack ideas you can think of off the top of your heads? I especially missed chips. Yeah. So I know Lily and I both had some experience working in the clinical setting, and I know type 2 diabetes is definitely one of those things where you're getting a lot of information thrown at you at once. And so I think it kind of goes with that. I think especially in your position, you need to be more mindful of just how many carbs you're getting, and making sure that, you're not replacing it necessarily with like a lot of extra fat or a lot of extra protein. So it's about, finding what works for you. So I think if you miss chips, I think you should be able to have chips, the chip brand that you like, but definitely in a more of a moderated sense. So I think one idea that we would often give to people is, instead of taking the whole bag, maybe get a bowl, pour it into the bowl, and you have a set amount that you can eat and that you're comfortable eating. It's not going to raise your blood sugar or affect your blood sugar in any way, because you've already counted it into your carb limit for your snack or meal. So definitely have chips. Any meal? Do you have any meal or snack ideas?
I think fiber foods are always really good, because fiber foods don't raise your blood sugar levels. So again, those fiber foods are anything like some whole grain chips. Wheat thins are good. Also, fiber foods are fruits and vegetables. So you could do like an apple with peanut butter, celery with peanut butter. You could try hummus with something. Or like carrots. So those are some ideas.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think I like to do like chickpea salad. Yeah, like Lily was saying, anything with fiber doesn't allow your body to spike your blood sugar, right? So the fiber is slowing down the absorption of the sugar. And so that's why, for instance, you do you're eating candy or something. By eating candy, your blood sugar spikes, because there's nothing blocking it from being absorbed. But when you are eating like a protein, fat, and fiber with your carbohydrates, it slows absorption and it doesn't spike that. So I think just making sure, your snack has a protein, fat, and carbohydrates with fiber, I think you should be good on that. Thank you for that question. Okay, so next one. I'm curious about what you think of the burgers that are supposed to taste like beef, like Incognito, fun name. Are they nutritionally good for you? I've heard that some of the ingredients are questionable. Yeah, so I have noticed the same thing. I know a lot of those products, they tend to have a lot of sort of like flavor enhancers. I know they're marketed as like a natural flavor enhancer, but they also have generally a lot of salt with them, because they are meant to mimic meat. So I definitely think if you like them, if you've had a chance to taste them, I think in moderation they'd be okay. I've had a couple of plant-based things that were primarily chickpea based, and those were pretty good. But besides the salt and maybe some of those extra flavor enhancers they had, I don't think there's necessarily any like dangerous ingredients. yeah, I think it's just mostly that extra salt that I'm not the biggest fan of. Perfect. I think that's all I can see for question. Oh, one new message. Oh, great. Okay. So, can you tell us what you typically eat in a day? How much daily water do you drink? I've read that drinking half your weight in water is ideal. X150. Would you like to try to answer this one?
Yes.
You're comfortable talking about what you eat in a day, or if you think it's more counterintuitive to do that?
Yeah, it's very, I feel like that puts a focus on what you guys should do when it should all be up to you, kind of. You should form your own diet. I feel like what I do might not work for you. So I just want to stress that.
Yeah, I think for us, I mean, we do our best to follow those My Plate guidelines. So I know personally, I do the 3 meals and I snack throughout the day. And all of my snacks, they always have a protein and a fat, and I always try to get a piece of fruit in. So in general, it can kind of be counterintuitive to tell you what we eat, because we don't want you to think, oh, well, that's the only, they're eating it, so they're going to be dietitians, so I have to eat that. And so that's not necessarily the best image we want to give out, because nutrition is very personalized. And so if I tell you I eat tabbouleh or some chickpea salad, I don't want you to think that, oh, I have to eat that to be healthy. So I know personally, I don't really like to tell people too much about what I eat or showcase that, but definitely the 3 meals and then snacks all the time. I love ice cream sometimes at night. I allow myself to have that when I want it. There's always some baked goods in my house, because I know that by allowing myself to have it, I'm taking that power away from those pleasure foods, right? And so I'm responsible for when I want to eat those. So yeah, definitely forming a healthy relationship with food, making sure that you're not restricting yourself. Yeah, and I know that Lily had touched on just listening to your hunger cues, and maybe take a step back from when you're eating a meal and asking yourself, am I full, or am I content, or can I eat more? Is this food actually tasting good anymore? Am I just trying to clean my plate? And so I definitely am a big proprietor of, even if my plate isn't clean, I'll save the rest of it because I'm not going to overeat. So just a couple tips to throw in there that isn't necessarily just our diets.
Mm-hmm. And then with the water, water is very individualized for everybody. You really need like a dietitian to calculate that for you specifically based on your weight, your height, your age, your activity level. So all of those things factor into your water intake. Drinking half your weight in body weight in water, yeah, it's okay. I think also if you calculate your calorie needs, that's basically what we use for how much water you need as well. So if you need like 1,500 calories, you would need 1,500 milliliters of water.
Right. Yes. That would be like 1.5 liters. And this is also dependent on your physical activity too. So if you're someone who's sedentary, you're not going to need as much water as someone who is exercising every single day for hours and doing all of this cardio. So it's kind of hard to answer that one. I know we have a general estimation for water needs. Lily, what is that? It's like 8. Do you remember the number?
8 to 10.
Yeah.
8 to 10 cups a day.
Yeah, around that. But again, that's dependent on your your physical activity level too. Oh, great. So I have another question. So can you explain My Plate a little more?
Yeah, we can go back to it.
Oh, perfect.
So basically, sometimes it's helpful to print out, like maybe this picture. You could find this online anywhere, and you can maybe put it up on your fridge. And basically, you want half of your plate to be those fruits and vegetable sources. So every plate, every breakfast, lunch, and dinner should have half of your plate be fruits and vegetables. And then those grain sources, again, those whole grain sources like the whole wheat bread, and then having also protein sources like fish, turkey, chicken, So that makes up the plate. And then the dairy, you want to have at least 2 to 3 servings of dairy every day.
Right.
I don't know if that helps. Do you have any more like specific questions about it?
Right. So, and I don't know if anyone remembers, but my plate actually took over for the pyramid way back. So I remember growing up, and we grew up learning about like the food pyramid, which it was confusing, and it put foods at like a different level, and made it seem like the ones at the top that were in like a smaller box were less important, which isn't true. So I mean, there's a reason that half of your plate should be vegetables and fruits. There's a reason that a quarter of your plate should be grains and protein. And there's also a reason that we recommend people continue to drink dairy or have dairy. But again, if you're not a dairy person or have intolerances and stuff, there are certain foods that you can have that, fulfill the benefits that dairy provides. So, but I believe you can find this if you wanted more information on MyPlate on myplate.gov. It's a USDA service. So I think I saw one more question. Let me see if I can go down. Okay, I know they have an app. Okay, yeah, so cool, good. Yeah, I have to check that out.
So I guess I'll ask some questions because I know there's probably a few people out here that are coming because they are probably on one of these diets looking to lose weight. And so would you suggest, I mean, just following this plate model, is that going to help them lose weight, or is that going to maintain it? Or do they need to do something more to lose weight? Like, I don't know, they always say count calories. What would you guys suggest if someone is looking to lose weight?
Yeah, so great question. I think small changes can make a big difference, and MyPlate is a perfect first step. And so I think all of us can kind of relate to not getting enough vegetables in the day. I know there are certain times where I'm like, I'm not eating enough vegetables, but I definitely think when you look at your whole diet, it's important to look at, base it off of MyPlate. Like, oh, I'm eating protein and maybe I'm eating dairy and I'm having my grains, but I'm not having any vegetables, right? And so I think once you start maybe including a little more vegetables here and there for consistently doing this, that will inherently lower your calorie intake and also give you more of those micronutrients. So I think just following what these smaller recommendations are can make a big difference. So we don't explicitly think that calorie counting is a good thing, just because that can make it, I think that adds to like the negative the negative relationship you have with food, right? So you see like, for instance, cake or something, and you're like, well, my calorie count is 1,800 calories. And so if I have this piece of cake, it's going to be over, and then I'm going to be off track. So I think that adds to that diet mentality and also worsens that relationship with food. So I think consistently overall implementing those small changes that mimic the MyPlate will give you the long-term results. And again, weight loss is something that is going to take a lot of time because you're essentially implementing a new diet focus. So you're focusing on those vegetables and you're focusing on like leaner proteins, and seeing what works for you. So I think definitely knowing that it's going to be a long process, especially for healthy weight loss, is going to be a good headspace for you to get into, knowing that this is your health goal. And, implementing MyPlate isn't something that's going to happen overnight, and you just have to get used to this being a consistent change. So
I think it's also important to watch some people might have, goes to some people. Some people might need to watch their portion control. I know that can be a big issue. Again, taking that walk after you eat will distract you from going back for those seconds. And we want to just listen to our mindfully eat and just make sure we're not having that whole bag of chips with us.
right, that bowl.
A little bit at a time, and we portion control, and we don't have all of our plate being that rice, but instead we take like maybe a cup of rice, and then we go back for more of the vegetables instead of the rice.
Yeah, and portion control absolutely allows you to assess your hunger levels a little bit more. So if you're getting like a smaller portion of dinner on your plate and you realize, hey, I'm still hungry and I only had the small piece of chicken, well, I could have another piece. So you go back. It gives you essentially time to pause and think about, well, am I actually hungry or am I just eating to clear my plate? So I think portion control, absolutely, Lily. That's a great suggestion for achieving that weight loss.
And lots of water too.
But definitely don't replace, if you ever feel hungry, replacing with water, right? Because there's a reason why we are feeling hungry. It's because we need to eat. So you definitely need to make sure your body's taken care of. And that's why, weight loss is going to be a slow process, because we're honoring what our body needs and not restricting it. And over time, you'll get to your health goals and feel a lot better doing it.
Yeah. And I just say water because sometimes people mistake being hungry for being thirsty. So just make sure you're drinking enough water too.
Absolutely. I'll keep that in mind for myself. I know I never drink enough water.
Okay. And I guess another question that I would ask, like, you're supposed to fill like half your plate with fruits and vegetables. If you are a picky eater or you are trying to feed picky eaters, do you have any suggestions of maybe like places to look for recipes or things to try to get more of those fruits and vegetables into your diet, even though you might not like them? Like, I personally have a person that I know of that hates any vegetables. They only like 2 types. So that's always a challenge.
I hear you. Yeah, that seems to be a common thing. I know a lot of my friends are picky eaters, and so they're always eating fried food and they hate salad, things like that. So great question. Yeah, I think smoothies are a really great way of sneaking in those vegetables, especially adding, if you're doing a fruit smoothie, adding in things like spinach or kale. You can add in a full serving of vegetables without anyone even noticing. I think also adding it into like traditionally pleasure foods. I know, for instance, if a family is doing like a taco night, and you can cut up like bell peppers and onions, things like that. You can put it into the taco meat while you're preparing it. And so you can kind of hide a serving of vegetables in that way. So especially for, younger like kids or things like that, being that they're not preparing it or seeing the process of preparing it, it's easier to sneak it in that way. Just a couple ideas.
Yeah, like meatballs. You can hide lots of vegetables in their soup. You can hide lots of vegetables in there. And like maybe some dips. Like a veggie dip or something like that.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, anything that masks that traditional vegetable taste. Yeah, and especially too with salads, I know you can, and it's still a salad, but adding all those extra flavors and textures in can help you think that, hey, I'm not really eating a salad, I'm actually eating like chicken, and I'm eating all of these other toppings. So a couple of things. Websites, I'm not totally familiar with a whole lot of resources. I know, so myplate.gov, they do have a couple of fun recipes that people can access for free. So that could be a good resource, going to the USDA myplate.gov, typing in picky eater or picky eater recipes. They could give you some great ideas there as well. But great questions. Thank you.
I think we're at the end, because I don't see any other questions, but thank you both again for taking your time out of your evening to be with us and to answer all of our questions. And as Christine just said, we all wish you continued success, and we are so excited to see what your next venture will bring to you. So. But then again, thank you again so very much, Lily and Brittany, for being here tonight. And again, if anyone has any other questions that weren't answered tonight, or they'd like to privately ask Brittany and Lily any questions, their emails are available right here. I'll give you a little time to write them down if you need to, or you can feel free to email me or anyone at the library, and we will set you up with their email so you can ask them. Okay, well, thank you again, and everyone have a really great night.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Amy. This was great. Thank you everyone else for participating. This was awesome.